Boom. Hello, so I'm here with my friend Danielle. This is our first video together, and
I'm going by Inadelle. Inadelle.
Inadelle. Okay, Inadelle, and I'm Jesse. So we're going to be talking about cusps today. So a cusp is when you have a planet in your chart. I think we're talking more about. I mean, we're not talking about just the sun, but like kind of the sun is a big one for cusp I've seen, where you are in the last few degrees of a sign or the beginning few degrees of a sign, and how that relates to personality. And yeah, so let's get into it. So what's your overall experience, Inadelle, with cusps?
I definitely seem to find that if someone's sun is in the first few degrees of a sign, that they definitely exhibit strong features of the previous sign and vice versa. I almost seem to see the previous sign more, or if the sun was at the end of the degrees, I see the next sign coming next more. So yeah, it's kind of interesting actually.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. Being someone who has just about a 29-degree Pisces sun, I've always felt that like when looking at the definition, like through one of these articles I read that said Pisces, Aries, Cusp, Sun, it made so much more sense than like what I would if I would ever read something that said Pisces Sun. And I really think it has to do with taking different parts from the two different signs, but also I think like what you're saying, if you're at the end of a sign, you're really trying to become the other sign. So maybe there's like a big yearning for becoming an Aries within me. Yeah, I'd always bring it back to the metaphor that I thought of when I was driving through the south of France, getting into territory closer to Spain. The more it's kind of like borders are like cusps. Like the further you get into the border, the more it becomes more like Spain. And once you finally hit that border, then you're in Spain slash the new sign. But like if you're living like in a village like one, like in the south of France, like right next to the Spanish border, you feel like you're in Spain. So
Exactly. Yeah, I know I've shared this with you before, but going to go into it again, that example of when you're flying to a country or, flying to somewhere else from where you just came from, when you're waiting in the airport to fly, you're thinking about the place you're going, and then once you land, you're almost retrospecting back on the place you just came from. I think that's a really good example of when you're, cusping a sign.
yeah, totally. I think both of these examples are very good conceptualizations of what it's like. And I think for most people, like there can be some confusion. People who look at sun sign astrology and who might look at, oh my God, like I'm a Libra, but really if they're at 29 degrees Libra or 1 degree Libra, that it would make a lot more sense if they looked at what it meant to be a Libra Scorpio, as opposed to just Libra or Libra Scorpio Cusp, because you're definitely taking a lot from that next sign.
It's interesting though. I know I have a longtime family friend who is like October 22nd, the day before Scorpio. And definitely there's a mystery about her, like there's a mysteriousness, but never would I say does she have the kind of that like dark, deep depths kind of it doesn't feel like there's no like titillating kind of intrigue as much. Does that make sense? Like it's mysterious, but it's like so airy still from the Libra, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
kind of a contra indication. I don't know. Something to
Yeah,
think about.
it's just so hard to tell, and there's so much that come from both. What would you say is different? So we've talked a lot about being at the end, like being in like the later, like 29, 28 degrees of a sign. What about being at like the 1, 0, 1, 2 degrees of a sign, like at the start, at that cusp? Like how would you see that difference? Are you just like kind of like yeah? What do you think about that?
I definitely I almost look at it as like you're grappling with the previous energy. It's like you're hanging on.
Mhm.
And I don't know so to get more specific, I have an example of this with my cousin. She's has just entered Taurus, coming out of Aries. on 4/23, April 23rd, and she really, to me, exhibits strong Aries features, whereas she believes she's a Taurus, and she's a triple Taurus, like she's fully Taurus. So, for her, she doesn't understand the Aries aspect as much as I experience it from her. So, I wonder, maybe it has something to do with more what we project or what we're releasing. I don't know. You wouldn't relate with that necessarily.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, that one I've never even really seen it in many charts either. I always just associate cusp as being at the end because the end just makes so much sense. It's like you're becoming that. You're trying to become that, but it's almost like if it's at the start, it's like you are that, but you still kind of have these like memories of like maybe more of your unconscious side is like the other sign. So if you're like an Aries at 1 or 2 degrees, maybe like you kind of fall back into that Piscean side at times. Like you have like a softer emotional side than someone who would be like a middle Aries or something. You're not that dynamic.
That's actually really interesting to say because that view actually could be utilized for both the end of the sign and the beginning of the next sign because it's like the
Yeah.
previous sign will always kind of be more of the fallback, more of the underside, more of the undercurrent or the subconscious.
Yeah, totally. Like maybe one gets externalized, one gets internalized. Like I definitely externalize my Aries and I internalize my Pisces. But then it's also huge because the sun is really who you are. So at the end of the day, I think that like wherever your sun is, that's who you are. But like you might kind of have like a little variation of it.
Exactly.
Well, cool. Anything else you'd like to add? I think we covered most of the high
No.
ground of that. No.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's like you can't really tell what character, like I couldn't really tell you what kind of characteristic is going to come from the sign before or the sign coming after, but there is going to be some blending. It seems like no matter what between the two.
Yeah, totally, 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 totally. And for anyone watching this, like I would highly recommend you go on astro.com and put in your chart information, look up to see if you have any planets. You can see the planets and they'll have like the numbers of degrees next to them. And see if you have any at the end, in the high 28, 27, 29, whatever, or 1, 2, 3. If you're on the cusp, and if you have the sun, the moon, or any of the big planets there, what you want to do is then go online, search an article that says, for example, Aries, Pisces cusp, or whatever your cusp is, and see how much more that relates to you than just the sun sign that you have. Alrighty, well, cool. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and we will be making many more videos and many more soon. So have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.